Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something loud, fast, and, well, pretty angry.
Punk rock.
Exactly. And our mission is to figure out how a movement built on three simple guitar chords and a whole lot of frustration just completely changed the game for creators everywhere.
You really have to get the context, though. In the mid-'70s, rock music had become huge, bloated even.
Super complex, right?
Yeah, you had these long technical solos, massive light shows. It wasn't very accessible. Punk was basically someone yelling stop.
It was a full rejection of all that. It's what happens when young people feel like the culture isn't for them anymore, so they just decide to build their own.
And that's the core idea. Punk proved that your music didn't have to be perfect. It didn't have to be expensive to make.
It just had to have energy.
Raw, unapologetic energy. That's what made it explode.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because that idea, accessibility, is, I think, the absolute foundation.
It is. Why spend years learning scales?
Yeah, when you can just plug in a guitar, turn it all the way up, and just shout what you feel, it suddenly became this outlet for, teenagers to express all that frustration.
And by stripping everything back, by getting rid of the fancy production and the virtuosic solos, they just changed what creative expression could even look like. They proved an urgent message was more powerful than a polished product.
So where did it all start? We have to go to the mid-'70s and first New York City.
Right. The U.S. epicenter was this one tiny club in Manhattan.
ECBGB.
Infamous.
Real?
Oh, totally. It was grungy, dark,
Yeah.
but it was the incubator. It's where the whole American sound really developed. You can't tell the story of punk without it.
And the band that basically wrote the rule book for that New York sound was the Ramones.
They were the blueprint.
Their whole concept was just simplicity. They played incredibly fast, super short songs.
We're talking under 2 minutes a lot of the time.
Yeah, just a blast of noise.
Well,
And their look was the same.
right. Totally. Simple leather jackets, torn jeans. It was anti-fashion. And the lyrics were about, being bored or just life on the street. It was this perfect reflection of their world.
What's so wild is how fast that idea jumped over to the UK and how it sort of mutated when it got there.
It's a fascinating contrast.
Because if New York was about boredom, London was different. It was driven by much sharper tensions.
That's the key. The London scene was political from the jump. It was fueled by real economic anxiety. British youth were facing massive unemployment, strikes.
A feeling that the system had just failed them.
Exactly. So their anger had a very clear target.
So if the Ramones were fast and catchy, the big London bands like the Sex Pistols and the Clash, they were just aggressive.
Confrontational. Their whole style was, think about the fashion.
The safety pins.
Yeah, safety pins through clothes, not just as decoration, but to literally tear the fabric. The bright hair colors, the ransom note lettering on their flyers, it was all designed to reject tradition and provoke a reaction.
Let's actually talk about the sound itself. Because if you've never heard it, the simplicity is so intentional. How do you make three chords sound like a revolution?
It really comes down to power and volume. Most punk songs use something called power chords.
Okay, so what are those?
They're just very simple 2 or 3 note chords.
Yeah.
But when you play them on an electric guitar with the distortion cranked way up, they sound huge, abrasive.
So it's about taking basic tools and just pushing them to their limit.
Exactly. And the gear was often cheap, which just added to that raw, messy sound. The sound quality itself was part of the message.
And the drums and bass are the engine, right?
Yep. Super fast, machine gun drumming, a really steady, heavy beat. And the bass is just this thick, driving rhythm underneath it all.
And the vocals are never really sung.
No, they're shouted, barked. The lyrics are direct, honest. It was about cutting away all the excess of 70s rock. No more 10-minute self-indulgent guitar solos.
Right. And the fashion was just as important as the sound. The look was meant to be a uniform of rebellion.
It was a physical statement, a complete break from the hippie generation before them.
We're talking torn clothes, metal studs, chains, stuff you'd find in a hardware store.
Combat boots, cheap sneakers, and the hair, of course.
The hair was everything. Spiked up, shaved in weird ways, dyed these neon, unnatural colors, pink, green.
It was a sign that you were opting out of normal society's rules.
And the brilliant part, which you mentioned, is that it was cheap. You made the look yourself from old clothes. It wasn't about money.
Which brings us to maybe the single most important idea in all of punk.
The do-it-yourself ethos.
The DIY ethos, yes. This is the heart of its entire legacy.
The bands just figured, why wait for a big record label to sign us? The labels are the gatekeepers.
Exactly. They said, we don't need your permission. They recorded their own songs in garages, on cheap 4-track machines. Sometimes they even paid to press their own vinyl records.
Which was revolutionary at the time.
Completely.
Hmm.
And the fans did the same thing with media. They created fanzines.
These little handmade magazines.
Yeah, just photocopy pages stapled together, sold for a few cents. But they were the entire news network for the scene. Reviews, interviews, show dates.
All happening completely outside of the mainstream media.
And that's the real takeaway here. That DIY approach taught an entire generation that you don't have to just be a consumer of culture.
You can be the creator, the organizer, the publisher.
All at the same time. That spirit is still so alive today in, independent arts, startup culture, everything.
And punk didn't just stay the same. By the early 80s, it got even faster.
That's when hardcore punk emerged. It was faster, louder, more aggressive. The songs got even shorter.
And this was centered in American cities, right? DC, LA, Boston.
Yes, and the shows got way more physical. That's where you see the birth of moshing.
Right, that chaotic kind of dancing in the pit. It's like this communal release of energy.
And inside the hardcore scene, something else really interesting happened. The straight edge movement.
Look, this came out of the DC scene, mostly.
It did. And it was a rebellion against the rebellion, in a way. These fans made a conscious choice to avoid alcohol, drugs, all of that. It was about keeping a clear head and being committed to the community's ideals.
And that sense of community was key. The shows were often all ages, held in like VFW halls or community centers.
Which meant younger kids could actually be a part of it, building these really tight-knit local scenes.
We also have to talk about the crucial role that women played in punk from day one.
Absolutely vital. You have figures like Patti Smith, who was kind of merging poetry and this raw punk energy, and bands like The Slits in the UK.
They were immediately challenging what a woman in a rock band was supposed to be.
They used the anti-establishment nature of the genre itself to fight for equality on stage.
And that energy really came to a head in the 1990s with the Riot Girl movement.
Yes, this was a full-on political subculture. It came out of the Pacific Northwest with bands like Bikini Kill.
And they were focused very specifically on issues affecting young women.
Totally. They talked about sexism in the scene, body image, and they used that same DIY framework to get their message out. They published their own zines and manifestos.
They were creating a network for girls, by girls, making the punk scene, which could be very male-dominated, a safer and more inclusive space.
And this whole punk idea spread globally.
Yeah.
Because the music was so easy to make, you saw unique scenes pop up in Japan, Germany, Brazil.
And in some places, it was used as a form of protest music, right?
A powerful one.
Yeah.
Under oppressive governments, it was this underground tool for speaking out.
Then, in the 90s, something changes. Punk goes mainstream. Big time.
The rise of pop punk, bands like Green Day, The Offspring.
Yeah.
Suddenly they're on the radio and stadiums.
Selling millions of albums.
And this created a huge debate in the community. These bands were using the speed and the chords of punk, but mixing it with these really catchy pop melodies.
So the question became, is it still punk if it's on a major label and making millions of dollars?
Exactly. Yeah. The argument was that punk is supposed to be anti-commercial. So if you take the corporate money, you're a sellout. You've betrayed the message.
But the other side would say that using that platform to get the message to millions more people is its own kind of power.
It's a debate that never really goes away. But regardless, the influence is just undeniable.
It's everywhere.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, punk's DNA is in almost all modern creative culture. It directly influenced grunge, alternative rock, even some electronic music.
And beyond music, too. Graphic design. That cut and paste, messy, bold look is pure punk.
And, maybe most importantly, it normalized the idea of the independent artist, the creator who controls their own work. That's standard now, whether you're a musician or a filmmaker.
Punk rock really proved that passion and a loud, simple message could completely change the culture.
It showed that you don't need to be a technical genius. You just need urgency and something to say.
The greatest gift punk gave us was permission. The permission to just pick up an instrument, make some noise, and create something real.
See you next